Welcome to another episode of the G's for Gossip. I am Yvette, your host. In this episode, we will be meeting our co-host, Tatiena Smith. So let's just go ahead and get started right away. Tatiena, tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right, so I'm Tatiena. I'm an occupational therapist. I live in Texas, but I've lived in multiple states. I've been dating my boyfriend for about 2 years. He's a Mason.
So was that the first time that you've heard of Freemasons when you started dating Robert?
It was the first time that I acknowledged what it was. I think I've heard about it in the past, but it meant nothing to me, so I just kind of let it go. But when we started dating, I was like, wait, what is it? What is it? And about every time I talked to him, I was like, I don't understand what it is. And I did lots of Google searching and be like, Mom, do you know what this is? And so I guess my grandpa's a Mason, so.
Okay. So you do have some family in it.
Yeah.
Okay. What is it like dating someone in Freemasonry?
It's definitely a big part of our lives because my boyfriend is not only just a Mason, but he's a secretary. He's involved in a lot of different groups, and so it's something that is part of his life every day, whether he's at the lodge or he's doing a guest talk out of town. And so sometimes I travel with him, so that's part of my life in that sense. It's part of conversations. It's part of things that kind of intertwine in my own daily life.
Yeah, I feel like when our significant others, when they're so involved in Masonry, it is such a huge part in our life.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Alex. He's speaking and stuff like that. So we're constantly around Masonry.
Yeah.
How do you feel that Masonry affects your relationship?
It's a good question. I guess I haven't put that much thought into it because the whole time that I've known my boyfriend, he's been a Mason, and so it's just the only thing I know.
Right. Are you involved in the launch?
I'm there every stated meeting, and I'll help out with anything that my boyfriend asks me to do. So he sells coffee for the lodge for scholarship money and stuff, and so I've definitely helped out with grinding coffee, packaging coffee. During Grand Lodge, I helped distribute like food and drinks. A lot of it I feel like is just being present and just
Right.
I help out.
What are other roles do you think that the wives or the significant others do for the Masons?
I feel like there's a lot of roles. It just depends on what the woman wants to do. Some women, they can just go to be present, bring their kids, so it's more of like a family environment. Some women might go and they can help out in small ways, such as helping clean or cook. But I mean, not everyone wants to do that. Other ways to be involved is helping your significant other put on like an event, help with planning, and then like side away from that, they can be in their own related groups.
Right. Do you think it's important for those significant others to be involved in Masonry?
I think it's really important. I think it puts a family aspect to it, so it's not just the guys leaving and then they have their own thing, and then the women's are at home or the family's at home. They're like, oh, I don't know what to do. They just leave for the week or leave for the night.
That's fine. I think we've already touched a little bit of this. Do you belong to any of the women groups?
I do not belong to any women's groups. I've researched a bunch to see if any interest me. I feel like I don't fit into some due to religious reasons. I don't fit into others because I feel like I don't know anyone, and I kind of need a little bit of an in, but I don't know any women who go to my lodge who are part of any other groups.
Right. So you mentioning that, I know that there are some women that come into the lodge and they're a little, maybe not afraid, but just shyer about coming into the lodge just because they don't know anyone and it's weird, and the husbands don't sit there with you the whole time after, they go into the meeting and you're kind of on your own. Do you feel if they held events for the women, it would help them get to know each other? And if they did, would you go?
I think it would help, but I'm not exactly sure if that's something that they would put on or if that's something that like one of the women who already are part of the lodge would put on, just because they don't really know what we're going to want to do or how to let us kind of relax.
Right.
I know when I first went to the lodge, I wasn't really sure what to do with myself. I guess it wasn't that welcoming, but I think the more I went, the more I started talking to people, the more welcoming it all became. And now whenever there's someone new, I kind of reach out to their significant other, friendly, try to get them to come to the lodge and let them know that I'm going to be there.
Yeah, I think that's always nice. Like I said, I think when you go into this, it's a little intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
But it's nice to have that involvement. So with that being said, do you feel like families should also be involved outside of Masonry? Like, do you feel, so like for instance, for me, I like that when we grew up, we were all really involved, not just when we went to lodge, but we had picnics and we, hung out together. They would come over to the house and hang out with my dad and myself. So for me, that's important. What do you feel about that?
I think it's important to hang out outside a lodge because I don't think it just should be like somewhere you go once a week, once a month, and then completely separate from those people. I think you should build relationships, and it kind of makes your time spent there better.
Yeah, I agree. The other night I was just telling Alex he had gone to lodge and two of the wives came over to my house with their kids. And I told them it was like one of the first times that I felt like it was like a little bit of a family atmosphere. Even though we didn't go to lodge, they came to my house and the men went to lodge. And it was just really nice to see all of our kids together and then us talking. And it was like a family again. And for me, that's important just because that's how I always saw Masonry before.
Mm-hmm.
From your personal exposure to Freemasonry, what aspects interest you the most?
I think there's a lot of aspects that interest me. I think that a lot of men have a hard time making friends, and I think it's an amazing place for them to feel comfortable and build relationships. I think it's a great place where they can have actual conversations and kind of build on them. I think that having team effort to put on anything is going to make you have a closer relationship. I also feel like community in your life is really needed. I know some people get that through religion, but not everyone does.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. I think, that's a really good community to have in the Freemasonry, and like I've mentioned before, we've made friends with people through Freemasonry and they've became like family to us. And I do think it's important for the spouse to be there in a lot of it so they don't feel alone and they feel supported. I think that plays a big role in it. I know when we went out of town and we went to, and I might be jumping back a little bit to a previous question, but we, took pictures of them and we kind of follow them and kind of help. And I think those bonds even with people help, and it's nice to have that. So with us doing this show, what do you think, what kind of topics are you hoping we hit, or what kind of topics do you think we'll talk about?
I feel like I want us to really describe all the different women's groups because I feel like for me, like I said, I don't know too much about all the groups, and I feel like I don't know how I would even get into it to begin with, and I'm sure there's a lot of other women out there who feel the same way. I also talking to some women who don't join groups because they think it's going to be a certain way. I think it'd be a great way for members of the groups to explain who they are and kind of help them build membership as well, because I know a lot of it's kind of going downhill and it's sad.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Go ahead.
I also want to help kind of build community at Lodge, whether it's planting a seed in someone's head or kind of building on their ideas. So that way in different lodges, women can start having more women there just to hang out with, make it more kids, make it just more family friendly.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you been to women events that the lodge or your Grand Lodge has held?
There's actually been no women's events that have gone
Oh,
on
okay.
for 2 years. Yeah.
Okay. Right. I know that I've been to some, and like with Alex traveling, we've been to others. And I think it's very important to realize that you have an age group, a really wide age group, right? So you have the really younger wives, I suppose, and then the older wives, and not everyone likes the same thing. So I think sometimes picking something that is general would help a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think tours are really nice, if they're able to get something like that. But I think with events, it would be nicer if it was a wider range of things, something that everyone can do and not just a specific group.
Is it only women or is men and children allowed at these events?
The men are usually at the Grand Lodge when these events are held.
And who plans them? Do the men plan them or do the women plan
The women plan it. I know Freemasonry takes a lot of your time,
them?
as it does here in our household. Do you wish it was different, or do you not mind it?
I mostly don't mind it. I know there's some days that, like, I work full time during the week, and so when I get to the weekend, I'm like, let's hang out, and then my boyfriend needs to go out of town. But for the most part, I love it. We travel a lot because of it. Even when we travel a lot, it has nothing to do with it. We stop at really cool, like, old Masonic lodges, and I get to explore them. So I love that. I love architecture and stuff like that.
Right. I definitely think that there is a positive in that. I know, like, I've talked about our trip before in Oklahoma, and we got to see some really cool stuff. We got to enter a really old Masonic building, and for people that enjoy it like us, it's very exciting. Um, in the future, do you see yourself always continuing, and maybe if there's children in the future, adopting them into this?
Yeah, if I have kids, I definitely want them to be involved. I'm gonna take them to lodge. I don't have kids though, so I don't really know how
Right.
all that goes.
Do you mind so you don't have kids? Do you mind kids being in the lodge?
I love when the kids are there just because I feel like it really builds the whole community. I do feel like we need to figure out ways to entertain the children because I know sometimes I get in trouble for being too loud, but it's like children are loud, so what's a balance? Um, I feel like there should be activities or games. We need to figure out something so the women are not only watching their children, but they're able to participate, even if we're all doing something together, like playing a board game.
Yeah, and that's something that Alex's Lodge this year is really trying to focus on, is bringing more of a family atmosphere to it. So I know, like, they're planning once a month doing like a game night or a movie night, and that's really exciting. I mean, not just for the ladies, but for the kids. Like I said, having those wives and the kids over last time was it just felt like a community, and it was really, really nice because we're all involved. We all know what it's like. Our husbands go to lodge. We see them reading the little their book and trying to learn everything, and so we know what it's like. And then we get to see also like how women come in and they really don't know much about masonry, but their husbands joining, and we kind of get to see how they progress in that, how then they learn about it and then they get involved with the ladies, which is nice. I do wish there was more involvement, but
Yeah.
you get what you get in a lodge.
How has all those new events been going? I know for like my boyfriend's lodge, I recently, like 3 days ago, made a Facebook group just for the women who go to the lodge, and it's totaled like 3 people. So I'm waiting for the next meeting for me to like try to figure out for something else to do. Because normally I just message people like, so what shall we do? And what things I've done. I've given away old clothes. I learned how to crochet. I've played a game. I just try to think of things on the spot, but I feel like kind of planning in advance would be nice.
Yeah, and actually that's a really good idea. I didn't even think about that, making like a little Facebook group page just for the wives of the lodge. I really, really like that idea. Do you guys have a wide range of wives again, like younger, older wives? Or do you have more like younger wives?
There's really not a lot of women that go there. So I go there. There's another gal just a few years younger than me. Another one about 10 years older than me. And then there's a widow that comes and she makes pineapple upside down cake, which she's been doing for like 30 plus years.
That's awesome.
And she stops by, drops off the cake, and then leaves. And maybe once in a while there'll be like a older wife there, but they're really just not there.
That's interesting. Okay. Yeah, like that's a great idea that I've never, like I said, I've never even thought about making that, because I know we have a few wives and sometimes they don't know what's going on, or it's very last minute, and it would be nice if, like you said, everyone kind of got on the same page and it's a little more planned out. I know when I've gone to lodge, it's basically similar, been the same ones that are there, but we don't normally do anything. We either like talk a little or help clean up, usual. But other than that, there's not much.
Yeah.
So I do, maybe that's a good idea, and that's something other wives can do, or ladies, and the lodges make a Facebook page and kind of get to know the other wives, and that's a good way too to have the new ones kind of meet them without the pressure of meeting all the wives, or all the ladies.
Yeah.
So well, that about wraps it up for us for this episode. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.